Hi, I'm Xavier.
And I'm Rosemary, and we are Lyon Arboretum's Summer 2020 Trail Building Interns.
This summer we had the pleasure of working with the Grounds and Collections Department. We helped staff members with ground maintenance work as well as trail building. We would like to take you on a virtual tour of two trail building projects that we did this summer.
Yeah, so sit back and enjoy.
Our first trail building site starts at the Bromeliad Garden and goes up to the First Valley Loop Trail. As we walk here, you can see the Ficus elastica. It's interesting because it chokes out trees, and you can see it here as it wraps around the stump. So that's one of the many trees that we'll see later on this trail. As we walk this way, do notice that the trail actually uses two types of gravel. The first layer here is a 2B, and it's a 3/4 inch aggregate sub-base gravel. And the top layer, which you can see, is a S4C. It's kind of a softer gravel that we laid on top. And we also use the tamper machine to tamp down the gravel in place. Do notice that the trail decal is blue. And the blue trail decal means that you're on the First Valley Loop Trail. Notice over here that there's a huge breadfruit, also known as a ulu tree. And the reason why it's so huge is because in this area, there's many albizia trees. And it has grown so tall because it tries to compete for sunlight. So as you continue along the trail, you have the option to go left or right. We will go right, however, the left still goes to the top, which connects the loop trail. Up on the left-hand side, we just planted this new ulu tree. And the reason why we planted this tree here was for bank stability. It also provides shade when it grows up, and it's also a source of food security. If you haven't noticed, we created a rock border around the sides of the trail to kind of keep the gravel on the trail. And we actually formed the rock border to the natural contours of the dirt trail. So if you see big piles of wood or big boulders, we connected small rocks in between to kind of form the trail. As you notice up on the right hand side, you see a Cunninghamnia, which is endemic to Taiwan, and it is a gymnosperm. And shall I mention, it's a pine tree. And what's interesting is in this part of the Arboretum, there's a lot of pine trees and eucalyptus that are very similar to what it would look like in Australia. As we move along the trail, it starts to incline and get a little steeper. So as you notice, we have installed more Trex, also known as plastic lumber, to kind of hold the gravel into place. They're held in by screws and two metal stakes.
So now it's sucking the Trex in. Rosemary is locking it down so the Trex don't blow out. Just make sure it's tight. Rosemary practicing on the hammer. Hammer time.
As you continue up this trail, notice that the gravel is actually mixed here. So we mixed the 2B and the S4C here on the slope, kind of for a better compaction on the hill. This corner here was kind of considered our hazard area. There was actually a huge root, as you can see, and it limited our candy column, which is our gas wheelbarrow, to bring the gravel up. So what we had to do is use this pyramid method to kind of stack gravel, which took about maybe 2 or 3 loads. And we put wood planks on top to kind of help ramp up the candy column. On the other side of this route, we actually used a weed mat to help prevent the mud from coming through the gravel. The reason for that is because with the limited amount of resources, we don't want to lose that much gravel. On the right hand side, we have basket grass growing here in this area, and it's a good ground cover, which prevents even bigger invasive species from growing in this area. So as you continue up the trail, as you notice on the right hand side, we have the bank. And the bank was actually shaving about a foot to achieve that 4 feet width of the trail. As you go up here on the left hand side, you'll see these tea leaves that we just planted. And the reason why we planted these guys here is because it provides some stability, because the trail is very close to the stream bank. So those roots will kind of hold in the side of the trail. Well, thank you guys for checking out the First Valley Loop Trail that we worked on this summer. Next, we'll be taking a look at the Huilama Falls Trail.
So as Xavier had mentioned, this is the Huilama Falls Trail. And one thing you will notice here is that this trail is much sunnier than the First Valley Loop Trail due to the absence of the big albizia trees. The problems that face this trail mainly had to do with water diversion. We found that the water runoff was running off of the trail that people were walking on, so it basically was very muddy and also had stagnant water after rainfalls on this trail. To solve this problem, we placed gravel down on the trail. The gravel that we chose is 2B, which allowed the trail to have better grip for people walking up the slope. Also, we placed lots of these plastic lumbers across, almost acting as water bars to divert the water to the sides of the trail. Here you will see a good example of this water bar system. This plastic lumber is placed at a diagonal. And for the water coming off of the water bar here, we chose a flatter rock to allow the water to run over it and into that hand-dug trench. So here we're utilizing a rock border on the low side of the slope to contain the gravel for when heavy rainfall comes. The water does not push the gravel off of this trail. This area was fairly problematic as the water had carved out a pretty deep, narrow tunnel. So it took a lot of buckets of gravel. Yes, you heard that right. We carried up the gravel by buckets to gravel this trail. Basically, it was a La Lima kind of system where we passed the bucket along and up. Now I'm going to take you off of the Huilama Falls Trail and talk about the source of the water coming onto the trail. We identified this as a possible roadway for the water getting onto the Huilama Falls Trail. And so to solve this problem, we dug trenches and also built berms on the side to basically direct the water where we would like for it to go. And here you will see a clearing, but before there had been so much debris that had collected that it acted as a dam. So we cleared it out, and this area you will see, we dug it lower than the trail surface level itself and built out these berms that were about 6 inches in height. This directed the water down into the natural drainage, which was beside our trail and not onto our trail. By changing the direction of the water at the top, we hope that much of the water will not reach our trail, and therefore the gravel and the quality of the trail will remain for many years to come.
So I hope you learned something from watching that. We sure did learn a lot working here at the Arboretum this summer, learning about how to take care of the land here. And we hope that most importantly, you get to come here and enjoy the trails that we worked on sometime, hopefully in the near future.
And we'd also like to express our thanks to everyone who made this possible. And we'd like to thank all the staff members that worked with us and everyone that we met this summer and that taught us lifelong skills and the knowledge about the Arboretum. So thank you guys and have a great rest of your summer. Mahalo.
Yeah.